Okay, everyone, how is it going? My name is RoShawn C Evans, and I'm here to talk to you today about a case that has been affecting me now for literally over 20 years now. Some of you may already follow me or have watched some of my videos. So some of you may know a little bit about my case and some of the things that I talk about frequently already. But now I'm going to take it to a new level here. For those of you that don't know, I was sucked into the system when I was 17 behind a statutory CSC4 case. Statutory CSC4 is equivalent to criminal sexual conduct in the 4th degree, which is a misdemeanor up to maximum 2 years in prison or $500 fine. Now again, I've been going through this now for over 20 years, and this is a misdemeanor with a maximum charge up to 2 years and a $500 fine. And I've been trying to figure out now for over half my life of how to fix my situation, and it's been incredibly hard for me. I don't know why it's been so hard to fix a situation that to me seems like a no-brainer, something that should be a simple fix, but unfortunately it's not. So we are going to conduct a case study with my case here. I'm going to do it on YouTube. Now you can't really see my desk here, but I have a few packets. So before I go through any of these packets, I am going to tell my story first. That's what I'm here to do today with you. But after this video, when I tell my story, the next video after this one will be the evaluation plan. Now, this evaluation plan is a investigative report. This investigative report here is going to tell you the things that happened the day that my life changed before I knew my life had changed. And this is going to give you the report of how things happened, who said what, and what supposedly had taken place the night that my life changed before I knew it changed. So this is going to be an investigative report. This investigative report is going to be pretty much an officer conducting her investigation with the alleged other party that got me into this mess, them and their parent. And I will be giving case numbers as well on all these documents that's on the table. I'm going to give a case number for each. That way, you're not just getting my story. You can actually go and pull these public records and look at these public records yourself with the case numbers. I'm going to give you all the information you need to find all the documents you need that's going to tell you who, what, when, and where, and how. Because, I mean, when I think about it, my story is only half. So if you want the full story, not only do you or can you pull the investigative reports and all this other paperwork that we're going to go over, you can actually talk to the other party that got me into this. So I'm going to give you all the information you need. So if you want to talk to the other party, you'll have all the information you need to actually find that other party. The second video after we go through the investigative report, we're going to go through the charges. Now, The charges, this one here is from all the different charges that they wanted to try to charge me with before they came up with a conclusion as to what they was going to actually charge me with, when in all actuality the only reason I got charged with anything was because I was a minority male at the age of 17 in the courtroom alone with no support system, and I had a angry parent on the other end pushing for a prosecution because she couldn't control her household. So we're going to go through the charges, and again, I will give you case numbers to all these public record documents so you can go through them yourself. Again, my story is only half the battle. If you want the full story, my suggestion will be to talk to the other parties involved, and you can actually look at the paperwork. Video 3 after this one is going to be my actual sentence date, and this is gonna go through the court transcripts word from word, from what everyone said, from me to my lawyer to the judge to the prosecuting attorney and whomever else spoke on record when I, at the age of 17, under 18, a minor, accepted a plea deal with no plea guidelines. So I accepted a plea deal, but there was no plea deal created. I can't think of the word that they use, but it's what is it? Habeas. I'll figure it out. But whatever I did, it was like I signed a plea deal, and upon signing a plea deal, there's no terms to the plea deal, and they give me a separate date to where they actually give me a sentence, and the sentence they give me is not something I knew I would be sentenced to before I signed my plea deal. And I done this again at the age of 17 in the courtroom alone with no parents, no guidance, nobody at all. It was just me taking care of this case that I didn't think was that big of a deal because I didn't think no one could do anything to me as long as I knew I was telling the truth, you know, and ultimately it didn't work out like that. So we're going to go through my sentence date when I signed a plea deal underage, or under 18 I should say, with no sentence guidelines because the prosecutor and the judge and whomever else decided on what kind of punishment to give me hadn't worked out what they was going to actually do to me until I came to court the next day, which will be the next video that we will go through, which is going to be the actual terms that was handed down to me when they actually gave me my sentence. And we will go through the courtroom reports, and again, I'm going to give you courtroom court numbers, my docket numbers, the case numbers I should say. I'm going to give all case numbers. That way you don't have to just take my word. You can look up everything that I'm talking about for yourself because this is all public record. But if you really want to get to the bottom of my story, instead of just listening to me and what I have to say, I would suggest you really talk to the other party that was involved that got me into this mess. So I'm going to give you case numbers and I'm going to tell you my side of the story. But if you really want to get to the bottom of it, I would highly suggest anyone go speak to the other party involved. And then I have a surprise package that I'm going to actually go over as well. This is going to be the last video here. I'm going to go over case numbers as well on this surprise package because I want everyone to know how I got here, what I've been through, and the things. I want people to understand how things work for minority males in the courtroom, especially when you're young or naive to the system or the way the system works without a support system. So before we go through these packets, that I'm going to give you all the case numbers to. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story for those that may be your first time tuning in to my YouTube channel. Now, first I must say, I moved out my mom's house at a very early age. Me and my mom, we didn't quite see eye to eye when it came to life. I thought, and still think to this day, that me and my mom didn't get along. So I ended up having to leave at an early age. I left in the 7th grade. That was the first time I ever left my mom's house. I ended up going back to my mom's. I left in the 8th, went back in the 8th, but by the 9th grade, by the time I left, I never went back to my mom's house until I was forced to go back to my mom's house due to a judge's order because of this case. I never known my father. Seen a few photos of him, but I never spoke to him, never heard his voice, don't know what he sounded like. So the life that I lived as a young adult growing up was pretty naive. I thought I knew more about life than what I actually did. I tell people this all the time, and I did have to find out the hard way. I didn't think that the world was as dangerous as it was. I truly believe that people who told me they loved me, they did. And a lot of people who I thought were my friends, maybe they were. Some of their loyalty may have just been with more of others because they've known them longer, and some people I thought was my friends probably were not. I'm still learning today. I'm 37. But to get back to the story, when I was 17, out living in the streets, because that's where I was living. When I left my mom's, I didn't wander off to another relative's house. I didn't go to an aunt or uncle or grandma or a cousin. I went to the streets. So I made a lot of decisions that I'm not particularly upset and mad about. I'm actually happy that I went through a lot of the things I went through, ironically, including this case right here, because it showed me who I am, and it directed me in a direction to where I can actually help others, even though I'm going through a lot still myself. But at the age of 17, a female that I knew from around the way, and again, excuse me because I am putting this without, I'm trying not to attack anyone's character. I'm not trying to put anybody down, but the truth do need to be known, and I wish this not to happen to no one else. So when it comes to my mom or my friends, and even this particular young lady in this case right here, my intentions is not to hurt no one, not to put anybody down, and I do understand that it's hard for people to fix their wrongs, but this is a wrong that really needs to be fixed, and I am asking for help. This is another reason I'm doing this case study, but she snuck out of her home. It was Christmas break, December 1999, and my homeboys that I used to hang out with were all college students. They were all 3 to 4 years older than me, and they came home to the city from surrounding cities back from college. And this particular night, they asked me to call some women. Now, these homeboys I had, we did a lot together. Like, where you seen one of us, you seen all of us, until they all went to college. And when they came back from college, we were back together again. So when they came home again, they asked me to call some females. I ended up calling a female that I'm not going to say her name, because again, I was 17. She was a year and 4 months younger than me. So they considered her to be a minor. So since she was a minor, I'm not going to say her name, which is another reason I will be giving case numbers. And again, this is just my story. And if you want the full story, since we are grown now, I would highly recommend you speak to the other party that was involved to give her side of the story. So that way you're just not taking my story. And I'm going to give you all case numbers so you'll know exactly who the young lady is. And you'll know exactly what took place, word from transcripts, and not just my own words. But I called this young lady, and I can remember it like literally it was yesterday. And when I called her, she was so excited. Like, she was so ecstatic that I was calling her. And while talking to her, I asked her, can she get out? And she told me yes. And she gave me her address. I wrote it down. We went to go pick her up. It was me. Since I was 17, I wasn't actually, I didn't have a car. So I had two homeboys that was driving. Well, one was driving. We had a guy named Tank, his nickname. He was the driver. And you had another young man that don't have a nickname, but his name is, I would say, C. And we went to go pick her up. Now, on the way to this young lady's house, she called my cell phone and she said, do not come to my house, meet me at the corner. So I told her, I said, we are almost at the corner, so come on. And she said, okay. By the time we pulled up to the corner, she was at the corner. And she climbed in the back seat of the car. And as soon as she got in the car, the first thing she did, she didn't say hi. She went straight in my pants, unbuttoned my pants, went in my pants and started playing with me. I went under her shirt. I was touching her. We're touching each other. My homeboy's just watching from the front seat. On the way back to the house, we all good. She goes, when we get to the house, she goes in the house, and me, Tank, and Clyde. Okay, Clyde. That's his name. But we outside the vehicle, and we're talking, and we're laughing. We just having fun, young men. And it was a few other people in the house as well, a few other guys. We had a twin, I'm going to say a T-twin. We had a guy named Rashad. His name was almost the same name as mine. We had a guy named Jerry. It was a lot of us. It was me, Tank, Clyde, Jerry, T-twin, and I think that's pretty much all I can recall right off the top. It's been so long ago, but me, Tank, and Clyde was outside talking. Oh, and Zante. And by the time we got finished talking, we walked in the house. And when we walked in the house, I looked around and I didn't see. So I said, hey, and then I just gave her name. Now I'm gonna have to edit that and take that out, because you're gonna have to get her name from the open documents, because I don't want to so-called get in trouble since she was a minor at that particular time. So I'm gonna cut that name out. But I asked where was she at, and they told me she was upstairs. So when I went upstairs, she was literally in my room, butt naked under the covers. So me as a kid, a 17-year-old kid, I did the same exact thing. I took my clothes off and I climbed in the bed with the young lady that was a year and 4 months younger than me. And I couldn't get an erection to save my life because you had people standing in the back of the room, you had people walking in and out of the room, you had people standing on the side of the bed, you had people standing in the doorway, and for me, it was an uncomfortable situation. Like, I never had a female over, with my older homeboys. Like, normally all the women is over for them because they the older guys, normally nobody even looks at me, but but this particular day she came over, and I couldn't get an erection to save my life. Like, I tried, I play with myself and I get like a little medium, and every time I try to go in, literally it go from a medium to a soft, and I'll play with it and I try to get it back and I get it kind of medium and I try to go back and it will go soft. And after a while of trying, so my mediums, I kind of ejaculated. So when I was playing and every time I get it on the medium, I actually came. And when I came on her coat, but I never was able to penetrate because I couldn't get it hard enough. So we ended up putting our clothes back on and we walked back down the stairs. But on the way down the stairs, she kind of like stopped the second stair down from the bottom, and she started talking to one of the older guys that was in the house that was like 2, maybe 3 years older than me. And ironically, his name was Rashad. My name is RoShawn. His name is Rashad. And they talking back and forth and they laughing and joking and looking at me and cracking jokes, and I ignored them. I'm like, whatever, because she wasn't my girl. I mean, like, and she got her reputation, and her reputation is, she is who she is. We are who we are. And we were kids doing whatever we was doing, which was having fun, being adults when no adults was around. So this young lady that was 1 year and 4 months, literally 1 year and 4 months younger than me, goes upstairs with another guy that's about 2 to 3 years older than me. So this means she was 15. She was 15. Her birthday was coming in like 3 more weeks. Like 3 more weeks, she was turning 16. But by him being 2 to 3 years older than me, he was like 19 or 20, and she was 15. But me and her was a year and 4 months apart. They go back upstairs and they end up having consensual sex. They come back down, everything's still cool, they hanging out, they chilling, we all chilling. And then my cell phone starts to ring. And it's this girl's mother. So I look at the phone and they say, "You gonna get that?" I say, I took her the phone and she looked at it and it was like, I'm like, "Here, your mama." She didn't want to answer. And the phone rang again. And the phone rang again. And this girl didn't want to answer the phone. And the phone rang again. And then there was a guy named Bub. He came in, after, it was kind of late. It was late when we went and picked her up. It was super late. Can't recall what actual time it was, but Bub came in and her mama just kept calling my cell phone and kept calling my cell phone. And people like, "Bro, somebody need to take her home." And somebody was like, Bub, he was like, "Hey, you want me to take you home?" And she said, "No." And my phone kept ringing, and it was her mom, and it kept ringing, and it kept ringing. And she wasn't ready to go yet. You know, she was afraid to go home. Her mama was blowing my phone up. And then, after a while, when the phone stopped ringing, she said, okay, I'm ready to go home now. Like, take me home. So we took her home. It wasn't Bub. It was me, still Tank, and Clyde in the same seat order. Tank drove. Clyde was in the passenger. I was behind the driver, and she sat behind the passenger. And on the way to her house, she said, do not take me home. Drop me back off at the corner. I ain't thinking nothing of it. Whatever. You know, I ain't got to sneak out of my house. We dropped her off at the corner or whatever. When we dropped her off at the corner, say the corner's here and her house is this way, she walked off this way. And when she walked off this way, I have no idea where she went, but when she walked off this way, we pulled off and we went back to where we was going. We went back to where we was going, and again, this was like Christmas time, December of 1999. So we ended up all packing up from where we were, and we went to the twins' grandparents' house because the twins' mom just got out of prison, and they wanted to cook her a special dinner for Christmas because she had been gone, I can't remember how many years. So we all went over there, all of us except one person, which was the twin. I can't remember which twin it was that stayed. I think it was T-twin that stayed over where we had just left. But the next morning, when T-twin came over, which was a few hours later actually, he said, hey Ro, the police were looking for you for kidnapping. And I'm like, yeah, right. And he like, for real? I'm like, okay. And he like, bro. I'm like, alright. And that was that. You know, it was like, no, I didn't hear any urgency. You know, like, he didn't seem for real, and I know nobody was kidnapped. So I disregarded what he said, and there was no, like, urgency. It was like, bro, police came looking for you yesterday for kidnapping. And I'm like, yeah. He like, for real. You know, and it's like, okay. He like, okay. And that was it. And, like I said, I disregarded it. I'm like, wasn't nobody kidnapped, so whatever, you know. Ain't nobody paying attention to him. Sometime, my dates could be off, but sometime in February, I bumped into my assistant wrestling coach, and he said, RoShawn, what have you gotten yourself into? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, RoShawn, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, and it all came back to me what T-Twin was saying about the kidnapping came to be true. But this time, the charge changed from kidnapping to rape. And I'm like, so I told my assistant wrestling coach, which was Officer Cheney at the time, everything that happened from the beginning to the end, from the time that I called her, from the time that we picked her up, from the time that we was hanging out at the house, from what happened at the house, from the time we dropped her off. And he told me to write down a written statement saying exactly what I just told him and turn myself in the morning. And I went to the house, and instead of immediately writing my written statement, because I hadn't spoke to the young lady since, and now this is February, I called her. And again, the dates, I could be wrong. It's been a long time, but you know, from the paperwork that I'm gonna go over, that I'm not going over yet, I'm gonna go over some of these dates with some of the things that actually took place, and I believe that this paperwork says February. But so I called the young lady to see what's going on, and when I called her, She answered the phone like she was at a party. Like, you can hear the music in the background, and you can hear the enthusiasm in her voice. It was like, hello? And I'm like, hey, let's yeah. Nah, there I go, said her name again. You know, and I wish that I could actually... I don't understand why I can't say her name. Because she need to come forward and she need to fix this. But, again, since she was a minor... at the time that they say she was a minor, I'm going to keep her name confidential, but I'm going to give you the case numbers of these open records so you can go find her yourself and you can ask her whatever you want to ask her. But I asked her, I say, hey, I'm going to call her L. I say, hey, what's going on? And when I asked her, like, what's going on, she wouldn't speak to me. She was just breathing in the phone. You can hear her like, and I'm like, L, hey. And she not answering. And I'm like, okay. So I hung up, picked up another cell phone. I called right back. Now, the same way I told you she answered the first time was the same way she answered the second time with so much enthusiasm in her voice. You could hear the music in the background, everything. It was crazy. It was like, hello? And I'm like, hey. What's going on? And, you know, as soon as I asked her what's going on, she ain't saying nothing. She just breathing in the phone like you could just hear her. I'm like, hey. No answer. Hey. Hung up. Done it again from third cell phone. Same exact thing. 3 times in a row. Like, she was ready to talk. Everything was good until she heard my voice. And it's like, okay. I'm not putting 2 and 2 together. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together, a lot of the 2 and 2s, until I got older with some of this paperwork and I actually figured out what was going on. But she wouldn't talk to me, and I ended up bumping to her in the mall a few weeks after that. And when I seen her and called her name, she didn't hear me at first, and I called her again. And she turned around, and when she seen me, she just took off walking real fast. Just took off. She was in the mall with, like, her brothers, and I was in the mall with my homeboys. So, when she took off, I took off behind her, and I'm walking. I'm like, hell no. Hey. You know, I'm calling her, and we walked, and she walked down to the exit, and she bent over and hit the corner. And as soon as she hit the corner, before you go out the exit door, she just turned around crying. It's not me, it's my mama. And I don't know what to do when she won't listen to me. And it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean she won't listen to you? Just tell her the truth about what happened. I say, what's going on? And she just, like, literally crying, like, oh my God, it's not me, it's my mama. And I don't know what to do when she won't listen to me. And she just crying. So I just left her alone. That was the last time I seen this young lady until they handed me down my sentence date. And the day that they handed me down my sentence date, she told the courts that she didn't want them to do anything to me, and she didn't want me to go to jail, or she didn't want me to go to prison. And the reason she said she didn't want anything to happen to me was because nothing happened. But yet, I was there because of a lie she told her mom that I had no idea that she told. And I was charged with touching a minor, even though she snuck out the house, even though everything we did was consensual, even though I couldn't get an erection and we didn't actually have sex, even though I told the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God in the court of law, I was charged with touching a minor for the simple fact that she was under the age of 16. And we're a year and 4 months apart. So, I'm going to leave that there. And we're going to go over some case numbers on my next video. When we come back, we're going to break it down. We're going to start with the investigative report. when the police was called, what was said from all parties. The case number on the investigative report before it hit the courtroom that we're going to go over next is going to be 00-05992 F H. And this is the evaluation report for RoShawn Evans, open records request, Flint, Michigan. It's 00-05992 FH. Then we're gonna go through when they was trying to work out the charge with the case number. When it was in district court, it was district court case number 00-438 FY. Again, that's district court number 00-438 FY. And they transferred this case over to circuit court as a felony. And that circuit court felony case number is 00-005-992 FH. Again, that court number, circuit court felony number is 00-005-992 FH. And we're going to go through all of these open record requests. That way, again, so it's just not me telling my story and you getting a one-sided story. I'm giving you my story with the case numbers and the facts. And if you want the last element to the story, which will be the young lady, I will highly suggest you pull one of these records, pull her name from the open record request. Her name is all through the paperwork, and go speak to her and get the other side of the story. And, you know, I must say one more thing before I end this video. I said in the beginning, I have been going over this I've been going through this, I should say, for over 20 years now. It all started from a mishap and an in-home situation that was a lie between mother-daughter that became an out-home situation that the pain was inflicted on me instead of worked out in the in-home situation. And the domino effect caused this person, from when she snuck out and when she lied to her mom, to go back to the house and lie again. And now the only one that has been feeling the pain for over 20 years has been me. I've been telling my story now for years, a long time. My story hasn't changed. I've written a book about this particular situation with legal documents inside the book as well. The book is called Stolen Identity. And my story, I've been telling my story, and yet me telling my story is still not enough, because I'm still going through everything that I'm going through and that I've been going through since I've been 17. But hopefully one day things change. But after a while of me telling my story, these very same people that initially changed my life forever has been trying to figure out a way to prevent me from telling my story, because they don't want the truth to come out. So they do everything they can to get my social media pages shut down. They do everything they can to get my photos of me or with people who purchased my book. They try to get those photos down. They do everything they can to shut off my YouTube channel. So I'm creating these videos. I am posting them. But I have people, these people right here that created this issue for me, pushing back, trying to conceal the truth, and they doing everything in their power that they possibly can to try to prevent the truth from coming out. But I must tell you, and I'm telling them too by making this video, there is nothing that's going to stop this truth. And I'm going to keep telling my truth until something not only changes for me, but people that's coming behind me, because nobody should have to endure any pain like this, especially because somebody have a problem that they can't control in their own household. Nobody should have to go through a problem like this because they are in the courtroom alone and naive to the system. Nobody should have to accept a plea deal in order to take, or nobody should have to accept a plea deal in order to receive the most lenient sentence when they shouldn't be signing a plea deal anyway. Nobody should have to deal with the effects of the criminal justice system because they are poor or a minority. And this has to change. And me telling my story again, it's not to put nobody down. It's not to break nobody. Me telling my story is so that people can use my story and create change where change need to be in order to bring equity to a system that is built for everybody and not just some. Me telling my story is a way for me not only to heal myself, but to heal other people who are afraid to talk about their stories. Me telling my story is because the truth needs to be heard. My name is RoShawn C. Evans, and follow my YouTube channel, RoShawn's Journey, and pick up the rest of my follow my cases, and that's my alarm going off. I'm sorry, y'all. As you can tell, this is unscripted. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, RoShawn's Journey, and follow my case review because I would really love for you to be a part of it. And again, don't just take my word. Take my word and go get the other half of the word from the other party. See you on my next video YouTube appearance. And it will be the evaluation plan.